Your story matters, don't let it fade. When everything changed, you were made.
Hey, this is Wendy, and I'm back with When Stories, the podcast. I'm joined with Kelly White today. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited. You and I have known each other for a while, so it's always just nice to get to chat with you. But I'm going to have you just quick introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do.
So I'm Kelly White, and I have a business with my youngest daughter called The Mother-Daughter Journey. We have a podcast that we're about to launch season 3 on October 29th. And it talks about basically our story of finding out that my daughter had a plan to take her own life and working through all of that, all of those feelings, learning how to communicate, which is what we do most at this point, and just seeing where each other, I'm flubbing over my words, but yeah, just that whole process of walking through that, learning, to walk with mental illness, learning how to talk to each other honestly, learning how to be able to, take a step back and listen, and instead of trying to impart your will. And so, yeah, that's what the podcast is about. And we've come to a point now we're both certified in conversation and certified coaches in conversation. I'm work as a classroom behavior specialist now in a special needs behavioral school. And we just really focus on getting people to recognize first they need to learn how to talk to themselves in a kind manner and in a productive, compassionate way. And then next with your core family, and then how that morphs out to the next. And so that's pretty much what we do. Yeah.
So a light subject.
Yeah, exactly. Light subject.
Like easy.
I don't tiptoe around it anymore.
Which is good, because I think that's what we need in the world right now. Because there's so much strain on relationships, mothers, daughters, and of course the mothers with their mothers, that sort of dynamic. So do you bring in a lot of guests, or is this mostly just you and Abigail? How does that look?
We do both. So Abigail and I, we do both. We bring in guests that one is inspired us and helped us get through it with the tools that we've learned, whether it be tapping or, taking a break or artistic, just all the different modes that are out there to help you get in touch with yourself and communicate with each other. And there's a lot, right? When a family is in crisis, they don't really know which way to turn. And so we try to introduce a whole lot of tools and introduce them to things that we do, but also bring in other specialists in case we don't resonate with them, because we both believe that we can help a lot of families. But if we're not the one, let's show you that there is something out there.
Right. So then do you and Abigail offer like coaching or anything? So say someone listens to your podcast, you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could just have a conversation with them. Is there something that you offer?
We do. We do offer coaching right now. We work with mothers and daughters, teens to probably, mid-20s, upper 30s, like that combination. The child is that age. And it's generally speaking when there is some sort of crisis and you don't know which way to go. We're not therapists, but we can help you kind of take a step back and erase the expectations so you have a place to start from and build from there.
Yeah, and obviously therapy is a wonderful tool, and I think everyone could probably see a therapist in life, but sometimes I think it's good to talk to people like you who you've been through it. You've been in the trenches with this. You've come out of it. So I think sometimes it takes the advice of someone who's been there to really get, what the other person's coming to you with. Saying, this is our situation. What tools can you help me with?
Right. And it's actually even more than that, because I come at it from the parent perspective, from, my end, what I'm seeing, how I'm feeling, how I would like to fix it all if I possibly could. And also the other side of it, like the thoughts of like, oh my gosh, I wish this would end. Like, why can't they just stop it? Like the things that you feel guilty about that you even thought about, right? I come at it from that perspective. And then Abigail, my daughter, she comes at it from the other end. Like, I'm the one who's struggling. I feel like a burden. I feel like I'm not being heard. And between the two of us, we can really enlighten the family, mother and daughter, at this point, on just patterns of thinking that they might not have been able to look at because they're in it and they can't see it,
Yeah, and that's really good just to have that kind of the third parties and so to have both of you, as a team working together because I think that can be a struggle for lots of moms and daughters. I mean, I have two daughters myself, and I have such different relationships with both of them. So it's just navigating those. And I think you're in the same boat, kind of like where you have two daughters as well, and you have different
Yep.
relationships with them. You have to build those, in my opinion, uniquely with and seeing the people for exactly who they are. Is that part of the
Yes,
process too?
it is. It's part of the process of one, a lot of times when there's, like I said, family in crisis, they're not looking at their own needs, right? They can't see anything. So that at this point, they don't even know what they need or who they are. And
Yeah.
all you can see is the issue that's happening. And you have this big, like, monkey on your back that you need to deal with. And you're not able to actually look at other things like what interests you, what might help you, calm down. What other things do you want to talk about or think about besides this big monkey? Because it's just all consuming. And so we're very helpful in that matter to be like, it is all consuming, but until we start to step away from it a little bit and get some kind of perspective on it, it's really hard to move through it.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And I love that you guys created this podcast because that's something that people can just kind of get bits and pieces of maybe issues and they can look through the episodes and say, oh, this is the one I need and consume that and then reach out or just take the tips that you've given them to implement. So it just I think it's something that's so needed right now in society and in our family lives. I know so many women and children who are trying to fix those generational traumas and things that have been handed down. So I think it's just you and Abigail are a wealth of knowledge on that podcast. So I hope people who are listening to this go out and subscribe to the Mother Daughter Journey and listen to as much as they can. But let's talk about that now because obviously you and Abigail now work together on a podcast. I mean,
We do.
and so it's fascinating to me. Obviously, your communication has come a long way because I think there's a lot of mothers and daughters who probably couldn't work together. It's like, as far as building the podcast, has that strengthened the relationship for you and Abigail?
Um, yeah, it has, but it's also had to teach us a lot of patience and grace. And like I said, expectations is that layer of you're working together, but you're also mother and daughter. And there are times when we can't show up for each other the way that you would want your business partner to show up, right? Because of the mother daughter dynamic. And
Yeah.
so we're very close. It has helped us get closer, but we're also very, like, we talk about everything. There's nothing that's not put on the table. We're careful about the way that we talk, right? We
Right.
I statements and we're not, but we talk about everything and we talk through everything. And that includes the podcast and the business.
Wow, that's awesome. So let's talk about your one story because obviously you share some very personal moments during your one story. What was the process like, even like through coaching with me and figure out which pieces to include and how to say them? How was that process for you?
It was great. I mean, working with you is always
Oh,
great. You tend to be able to, I don't know, say the right thing to make whoever you're working with back up and be like, oh yeah, now I know what direction. But it was great to have the support. It was just to hear other people's stories as well and to hear
yeah,
the way that they come at them. And a couple of the people were very similar. Another one story is very similar to our story. And to hear that perspective on top of our perspective, it was just amazing.
yeah,
Just doing the Wen story in general, like to come out and say something that's so personal,
yeah,
you have to be comfortable and trust the person that you're doing it with. And you made me feel very comfortable and I trust you.
mm,
So it was a very good process. And it also just, it made me realize again, because we had taken a step back, just
yeah,
how needed these things are.
yeah. That's so true. And I'm glad you're coming back now with season three of the podcast. So is there any different like directions you're going with the podcast? It's gonna be pretty much similar, or are you looking to implement anything new?
So, as you know, in my Wen story, which people will hear on October 29th, I guess,
Hmm.
um, there's a second Wen to that. Like Abigail and I had to work through like acknowledging the mental illness and just the dysfunction that was in our relationship. And in doing that, I realized that that dysfunction came from the family systems that I grew up in, and it was being perpetuated. So what ended up happening, unfortunately, at this point, I'm estranged from my mom and my sister. Excuse me, my sister. And it's because of us being, one of the reasons is because of us being so vocal about what has happened and sharing our story. And so we dive into the estrangement and what that looks like.
Yeah.
And how how I'm working through it, and how the door's not closed. Like, I'm very open to keeping that conversation going, but sometimes you need to do what you need to do, right? And realize everybody's doing the best they can. And it takes a while to get to that point. And so this season, we're going to be talking a lot about that, about doing what you have to do to keep your core family healthy so that you can go out and put positive ripples into the world, and what that core family looks like, and just recognizing that everybody's doing the best that they can.
And to what you said too, I mean, everyone has to be an active participant, so I
Yes,
mean, you can have the best intentions and want to come to the table, but everybody else has to come to the table too, and that's not always possible because everyone's in their own place, as you said, like
right.
not everyone's ready to grow or to listen differently, and that can be a big struggle. And I'm seeing a lot of estrangement over like social media accounts and all of that. So I think it'll be a really interesting season to listen to, and
Yeah.
you know,
It's funny because I see a lot of those things about estrangement on social media and stuff too. And it's all great information. And I feel like the majority of it is kind of like what you're saying, like the other person has to come to the table. But there's
yeah,
also, I feel like in that, there's a lot of finger pointing. And my mom actually always used to say, when you're pointing your finger at somebody, you have three more pointing back at you. And
yeah,
so while you're pointing the finger, and for me, I've had to do this at my mom or my sister, I have to then, okay, take a look back at what my role was in that, right? I wasn't healthy and I had a role there too. And so just trying to understand that, yes, there's estrangement here. Yes, things happened, but that there's some compassion. That person was trying to do the best they can. They're not
yeah.
ready to talk about it yet, but still have to look at it with compassion.
Yeah, and I think, and I love the idea of assuming good intention, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we want to turn people into the evil one or, they're the bad one, I'm the good one. So I think if, especially in families, we've known each other most of our lives and,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's got their personality quirks and certain things that they're set in. Some people have a fixed mindset, some have a growth mindset, and sometimes those things just don't jive,
Right, right.
and that's the struggle. So where can people find more of you? So obviously the podcast, The Mother-Daughter Journey, I'm assuming it's on all podcast players that are out there.
Yep, it's on all podcast players. We have I'm sorry. They can reach us, me personally, if they would like to email me at Kelly at themotherdaughterjourney.com. The motherdaughterjourney.com website. You can also, reach out there. And we have my Facebook page, which is just Kelly White Speaks. And yeah, Mother Daughter Journey Instagram as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and we'll put those links too in the show notes so you can get a hold of Kelly as well and just hear more of her story. So we're actually after this interview, we will be playing the audio of your one story, and then after that, for this season of the podcast, I'll be adding on your songs. So all the theme
Okay.
songs that I wrote for your cohort, we'll play the song after your one story as well. So anyone who's listening, stay tuned after Kelly's one story, and then you'll hear her theme song as well. So thank you so much, Kelly, for joining me and talking through a little bit more of this because I love what you do. It's just putting so much good into the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your story matters, don't let it fade. When everything changed, you were made.
When everything changed, I was in a training at work. It was a Friday, November 12th. Friday, November 2012. Everything was quiet except for the sound of the instructor's voice. And then 2 knocks, and the door opened. And it was my boss standing in the doorway, and he said, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I need to speak to Kelly. So I get up, I'm walking towards the door, and he says, you're going to want to grab your things. So I walk out into the hallway, and he says to me, your daughter's school has been trying to call you for about an hour, and they finally reached out to me because they need you to call. It sounds really important. And so I called the number he gave me, and it turns out it was the counselor's telephone number. And she says to me, Mrs. White, we're going to need you to come down to the school because Abigail's been making threats. I instantly start responding, but only in my mind. Threats? Who is she threatening? She's a second-degree black belt. She knows better than to threaten people. I called her sick into school this morning. She's not even there. That one pulled me right out of it. And I said, who's she threatening? She's not even in school. I called her in sick. To that I hear, she's here. And she's making threats against herself. A friend was texting with her, and we coached the friend through getting her to come to school. And we're going to need you to come here. All I can think of is, this isn't real. So I get in my car. That's the last thing I remember. I don't remember leaving, get the drive from work to the school, but I'm there, and I'm ushered into the principal's office, and Abigail is there. And she doesn't look at me. She looks so ashamed and small and scared. And I sit down, and they tell me the story, basically. Abigail had a plan to take her own life. She was going to take pain medication from a hip surgery that she had had the year before that was, left over just hanging out in the house. And to this day, when I think about that, I know it's more than a memory, right? I can physically feel it in my body. My chest tightens, my heart aches, my breath catches. All of the emotions are like right here all over again. The gratitude, the shame, the embarrassment, the fear, the overwhelm. We get all the information from the school. They tell us, this is the emergency services that you need to go to. And she won't be allowed in school again until a psychiatrist has deemed her safe to be there. So off to emergency services we go, where we will find out what the treatment plan is and what our next steps are. And while we're there, we meet many people. Our first psychiatrist, who sits down and asks Abigail a lot of questions. She never looks at me during these questions until the last one. The last question was, Abigail, why didn't you follow through with your plan? And I watch as she mulls it over. And then she looks up at me and she says, every time I thought about writing the note that I had written in my head 1,000,000 times, I thought, no one will miss me. No one except my mom. Mom will be devastated. Mom will be broken. Man, was she right. I was devastated. She was sitting right in front of me, and I was still devastated. But oh boy, was she wrong. There were so many people that were going to miss her if that had happened. So we leave emergency services. We go over to the place, we drive to the place where the treatment is going to be happening, where she's going to be going back and forth for the next, we don't even know how long. And they take her for a tour. And so I decide, you know what, it's time to call my husband. So I step outside. And as I step outside, I hear the door lock, where my little girl is inside because she needs to be locked in there. One emotional blow after the other. I call my husband, and I have to tell him that his little girl had a plan to end her life. I hear his breath catch. We get home, and we're putting a mattress on the floor in her room because we're terrified to leave her alone, and she's afraid to be alone. My sister comes, brings me a lockbox, so every pill in the house can go in it, and we're locking it. But like most days, this day does too end, thankfully. For the next 5 years, we stumble through the dark as we try to navigate the mental health arena, and we try to keep all the balls up in the air without dropping them. And we just keep going like that in the dark. And I'm thinking, why is nothing changing? The end of 5 years, like this is so hard. Why is this so hard? And I realize nothing's changing because we've changed nothing. All we've done is add to an already busy plate, full plate. We've added doctors, psychiatrists, therapists, medication, but we've changed nothing. And so I'm sitting home thinking, how do we do this? See, I'm still looking at all of this as embarrassment. Like, I walk with mental illness too, and I'm still embarrassed. I'm afraid to say it. I'm still ashamed of myself, and I'm viewing it as a weakness. And since as a mother, I'm modeling behavior to my children, what is Abigail doing? What do you all think she's doing? The exact same thing. The first change came with acceptance. I walk with mental illness. I've always walked with mental illness. What does this say about me? Nothing, except for that I need to learn how to walk with mental illness. I first voiced this, that I have mental illness at work. I had a corporate job and I had been working for 14 years to climb the ladder. But I needed to work from home. I couldn't do that anymore. And we already had people working from home in our department spread across the country, so I really didn't think it was going to be that big of an ask, but it was. It took over a year for that accommodation to come through, and it was like having to prove a silent illness in that I wasn't taking advantage of the system. I eventually get that accommodation, and we start to change things. We learn that we need to talk. And I have to also acknowledge, without ego, which is very difficult, that yes, don't get me wrong, we walk with mental illness and we need the doctors and the psychiatrists and the medication, but that was by far our only issue. That was not our only issue. We had many. I was striving for perfection. Nothing less would matter. I was expecting perfection. See, our household and myself grew up in a family system where there was so much love, but there was also control, comparison, shame, guilt. All of those were used to steer me in the way that my family thought I should be going. My home was filled with so much love, but it was also filled with control, comparison, shame, guilt. I had brought that into my home for my girls. That's how my girls were raised. We learned how to talk. See, we're both in therapy, but we ended up going to joint therapy together eventually because we learned that we were learning who we were learning the emotions, we were learning to be able to look at the things we did without ego, but we had no idea how to talk to each other about it. So through group therapy, we started to learn how to do that. And then we decided, you know what, we're going to learn more about communication, and we became certified as a coach principal's teaching partner in conversation. And we started planning a podcast called The Mother-Daughter Journey because we wanted to put our story out there to help other people who were stumbling in the darkness, just like us, not feel so alone. Things were good. They were getting better. Our household was calm, peaceful. It was a place of solace, like it should be. Then everything changed again. My dad passed away. And it was in June of 2021. Christmas was coming, and I said to my family, again, I used my voice, I can't do Christmas the way we've done it always. I need to go away. It can't be that way. I wanted to just rent a house with all of us. It was 9 of us. Let's just rent a house and be together and support each other, but it can't be here in the living room where I watched him take his last breath. My sister did not want to do that. She didn't want to be in a house with all of us. I get it. Emotions run high. So we rented a hotel in Vermont, 3 hotel rooms. And on Christmas Day, all of us are in this room, the 9 of us, emotions are high. The pile under the rug of the things that we keep sweeping is even higher. And something happens, words are said, and Abigail gets up and says, I'm done. Like the tears are in her eyes, and she leaves and she goes to her own hotel room. And I can remember sitting there thinking, even on this day without him, there's no acceptance for her. There's no acceptance for us. Words came out of my mouth that day, things that I was not prepared to communicate yet, things my family was definitely not ready to hear. It's been since December of 2021 since we've spoken, my sister and my mother. Again, a family filled with so much love, but we didn't know how to talk to each other, and it didn't come out that way on that day. Abigail and I kept moving forward. We launched the podcast. It's been going for 2 years, 2 seasons. We're about to launch season 3. And the feedback is, thank you so much. We didn't know where to start. We didn't know where to begin. We started coaching other mothers and daughters because we had learned how to talk. We had learned that there are conversations to have where ego can't be invited. We talked about with people the control, the guilt, the shame, the words, and how much they matter and how they can be taken. And we're making an impact. Like we are helping people with our mess. What little contact I did have with my mother and my sister were stop. Stop doing what you're doing. Stop sharing the dirty laundry, so to speak. We didn't. We kept going on. And what I've learned through all of this journey is everybody's doing the best that they can. Emotions are high. We don't know how to talk. And my mother and my sister are doing the best that they can. And so am I. And sometimes you just can't be in each other's world while you're trying to heal. And let me tell you, that healing began at that point. So here we are, 2025, and we're still moving forward. Our home is a happy home. The 4 of us, our core family, is solid. And we're able to step out and start doing things in the world because we don't have to focus on that core family so much anymore. And that's really what I want to leave you all with is the core family. Because I have a theory, actually Abigail and I both have a theory, that if we all concentrated on that core family, being open, being seen, no judgment, just allowing the words to flow and being careful with what they are, then the ripple that we make in the world will be nice and smooth. See, before, when we were fighting everything and we were hiding everything, the ripple that we were leaving when we plunged into the world was jagged ripples. We were spreading negative energy. And right now in our world, there's a lot of jagged ripples. We need smooth ripples. And our belief is that if you focus on doing what needs to be done for your core family so that you are in harmony and that you are supporting each other and loving each other and free to say whatever feeling you have, because emotions, they're not good or bad. They just are. And you have to feel them to heal them. And so in our family, we do not hide emotions. We're solid. And when we walk out into the world, our ripples are smooth. Both Abigail and I now are not teaching. I'm a classroom behavior specialist in a behavioral middle school classroom. And she has her RBT and she is working with children who have autism also in middle school. And we are incorporating our communication skills that we have learned with them. We are teaching them that emotions are not good or bad, they just are. Mental illness or any of the things that they're going through, their past traumas, their behaviors, there's needs behind them. And you can Feel them, heal them, learn how to communicate them, and then go out and spread your own ripples. So I want to leave you with one thought, maybe two. Because again, like I said, in this world today, there are so many jagged ripples, and everywhere you go, you're getting hit with negative emotions, and there's a lot of finger pointing. So here's my two thoughts. When you're pointing your finger, you have 3 more coming back at you. Look at you without ego, through an observational lens, and just do the work. Do what it needs to do. Do what you need to do to get your core family where it needs to go. And then second, I challenge us all to focus on making our homes, our core families, solid, harmonious, peaceful. Because when you do that, the ripple, when you jump in the water, is smooth. And then you can step out and make another ripple. And that ripple will be positive, and it'll be smooth, and you'll be helping people realize that they can create ripples. And then they can step out and make more ripples. And maybe in a world where people stop pointing fingers, stop spreading jagged ripples, we could have peace, love, harmony, a place we want children to grow up in. Thank you.
We don't choose the ground we're given, where the roots find the rain. Buried deep beneath the silence, learning love through all the pain. In the dark we start our reaching, even broken seeds still grow. Searching up for something brighter, something better we didn't know. Every tear turned to water, every scar saw the sun. We found beauty in the struggle, and the healing just begun. But we're better than before, healing our roots and so much more. We learn to listen from healing scars and leave each other better than before. Oh, better than before. Better than before. The wind carried me to freedom, tore my branches, set me free. Now I'm growing something different from the roots you gave to me. Not in anger, but in mercy. Not in shame, but something pure. New soil, new love, new promise, and hearts that can endure. Every tear turned to water, every scar saw the sun. We found beauty in the struggle, and the healing just begun. But we're better than before, healing roots and so much more. We learn to listen from healing scars and leave each other better than before. Oh, better than before. It's not about perfection, it's compassion, it's grace. It's our purpose, it's our promise, healing every broken space. But we're better than before, healing roots and so much more. We learn to listen from healing scars and leave each other better than before. Oh, better than before. Oh, better than before.